Just imagine that in one of these protests here in America, you would see 20 people shooting 20 police officers. But thank God these police officers had a bulletproof vest. So they didn't hit them and nobody was dead. Mm-hmm. So now you would tell all these 20 people that now ran away, okay, we will not even chase you? It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
Imagine living in a community where just maybe half a mile down the road, in another little community right next to yours, you had your worst enemies. Imagine living next to people that hated you so much that they wanted to wipe you off the face of the earth. And I'm not just talking about nation states. I'm talking about what happens inside Israel, in Judea, Samaria, what happens every single day for Jewish families that are living in those areas, and the intensity of that. Imagine if we were here in the United States and 300 drones and missiles were headed our way, and we had to fight and defend ourselves, just targeting, getting those missiles out of the air, destroying them before they hit our families and our places of worship and our buildings and our society. Imagine having to defend yourself and then being told, okay, back away now. There's nothing you can do to respond to all of those missiles and drones heading your way. Because we need to let Iran save face, and we don't want you to strike them back. I was just at an event today with Ambassador Friedman, with Ohad Tal, as well as the ambassador to Hungary. And it was at the Heritage Foundation. And it was really fascinating. And I can't wait for you all to hear Ohad on this show, because he's going to go into the details, folks. How did Israel miss it? How did they not know? And when they did know, or if they did know, that Hamas was planning this attack, why didn't they do anything to stop it? I know you all asked that same question. And we're going to get to that. But I first want you to put yourself in the shoes of people living in Israel, a place that's roughly the size of New Jersey, right? The only country in the world that represents the Jewish people. That's it. And you're living amongst your worst enemies. They hate you. And Ohad's going to go into details of that, because he can describe to you what happened when those Iranian missiles went off and what happened to him and his family where they were living. They live very close to Bethlehem. And by the way, I want people to understand this. There is just so many misunderstandings when it comes to Israel. And you really, if you haven't been there, it's hard to grasp it, right? Like what's really happening in this small place, this small country, and the intensity of it all, right? And how it changes the trajectory, the geopolitical trajectory of our world. But in Israel, for example, in Samaria and Judea, and I was so blessed to meet the mayor of Samaria and spend time there and understand what was really going on, Bethlehem is very close. And when we think of Bethlehem, we think, oh my goodness, Christianity, the birthplace of Jesus Christ. It used to be 80% Christian. It's now 80% Muslim. And if you're a Jew, you can't go in there. There are signs. And you definitely cannot speak Hebrew in there at all. And it is very dangerous, even if you're a Christian, to be in Bethlehem. You have to know how to operate. It's just a different world. It's just a different world. Imagine how frightening that is, living amongst your enemy. And now I want you to come back just really quick, and I want you to think about what the United States is asking Israel not to do, not to respond to Iranian aggression, not to stand up for itself in a region of the world where being the top dog is all that people respect. Weakness is an existential threat. That's what happens in that region of the world. And now I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine that we are being targeted. And then we are being asked not to respond to an attack on our country? Would you do it? Would you just step back and let another country dictate what you believe is right and what you believe is necessary? I don't believe so. And now I want you to think, before we get to this interview, about what is happening inside Israel, and ask yourself, could this happen in the United States? When Israeli authorities had information that there was a good chance that Hamas was planning to target Israel, nobody believed it. Nobody believed it. Think about our border. Think about what's happening in the United States. Think about how we are handling our own national security. Are we going to wake up one morning and say, wow, we just didn't really believe that this would happen? That we would be faced with such a horrible attack? Let me tell you guys, our enemies are telling us every day that they want to destroy the United States. Iran says it all the time. Says, we are the great Satan. We're the big one. Israel's the little one. We have enemies that are very adamant about destroying our power in the world and our place in this world. They do not want the United States to exist the way it has existed. They do not want the U.S. to be the world leader, and they are adamant on targeting us. And by the way, I think some of those enemies are even within our nation. And they are doing the same inside our country, maybe for different reasons. But we are watching our nation buckle. And we are turning our backs on our allies. And I believe that is going to be a threat to us. I know I read some of your tweets. I see some of your messages. Some of you are like, we don't want to fund any wars. We don't want to fund this. We don't want to give money to that. I get it. But we live in a global world where we don't really have any choices anymore. And by the way, Israel is on the front line of that war. They're the ones that are sending their sons and daughters to fight against extremists that are our enemy too. You can't play nice with extremists. They do not care who you are. They don't care, and I've seen this before, the LGBTQ community going out and supporting what happened in Israel with Hamas, siding with these extremist radicals. They will be the first ones to die in a society that could be run by radicals like that. That is what happens in Iran when they hang people for being gay or throw them off a building. That happened in Afghanistan. That happens in other parts of the world where people don't have those rights. I hope today, when you listen to Ohad Tal, that you will understand what it is really like to be in the shoes of a people that are targeted, people that are fighting on the front lines of this war on terror. We got a smidgen, a taste of it on September 11th. But like I tell everybody, September 11th, 2001 sent us on a trajectory for over 20 years. And that was just 19 terrorists. Imagine an even bigger strike in this nation. How would that change us? How would that change our world? And if we did get hit, wouldn't we want our allies to defend us, to be with us, to stand by our side? That's the reason why I have Ohad Tal on the show today. I want to take a look at this historic event, discuss with him how do we not make those same mistakes, and what do we need to do to help our democratic allies in the Middle East, our only and greatest ally in the Middle East, Israel, fight and win this war on extremism and radical terror. But first, I want to talk to you about Mike Lindell. When Mike Lindell first launched My Pillow, it was like solely a solution for one problem. It was just about pillows. But that's not it, folks. They have everything now. They've got My Pillow dog beds. You know, all my dogs sleep on them. And Macy Daisy is always sleeping on her dog bed whenever I do my podcast from home, right underneath my desk, right at my feet. And she loves it. It's amazing. And it's a great gift too. By the way, I give those dog beds to my friends who have pets. It's something that you can do. And you can also stock up for the holidays, right? I like to do that early in the year so I don't have to worry about it come Christmas time. But they've got my slippers. They've got my mattress pillow toppers. I mean, everything you can imagine, that's what they got. Mike Lindell, and it's an American company that supports American workers. I want you to go to mypillow.com. That's mypillow.com. I want you to use the promo code Carter, that's CARTER, at mypillow.com and get the sale price and free shipping on your order if it's over $75. $75 and over, you get that free shipping. Get 2-pack My Pillows, My Pillow sandals, luxurious 6-pack towel sets. They're the best. I mean, they just absorb the water. The brand new 4-pack dish towels, small dog beds, beach towels, and so much more. Other great savings with what? Promo code Carter, CARTER. Go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-685-7221 today to get in on the $25 extravaganza today. Be sure to use code Carter, CARTER, to get the sale price and free shipping on your order over $75. Call 1-800-685-7221 or go to mypillow.com, promo code Carter. Again, mypillow.com, promo code Carter. I am so grateful to have you here in the United States, Ohad Tal, more than you know, only because of what you've just recently been through in Israel. You are with the Knesset. You are a member of the religious Zionist party in Israel. I didn't even know that you were an IDF veteran. You served on IDF's armored corps as a part of the tank commander and participated Operation Defensive Shield. Thank you so much for being a part of the Sarah Carter
Thank you, Sarah,
Show.
for having me. Such a great honor.
Yeah, I'm so excited. But I want before we move on to anything political, I want you to talk a little bit about what it was like for you and your family this past week, because for a second there, your flight was canceled. There was a good chance that you weren't even going to be able to come to the United States because of the onslaught of attack from Iran. I mean, it was a horrifying experience watching it on television from here. I can't imagine what it must have been like for you there.
Wow. So to be honest, yeah, that was a very terrifying night. 2:00 in the morning, I was actually still awake. Suddenly, we started to hear the sirens. But to be honest, what was even more scary is that, I live in Efrat. It's a city in Judea and Samaria, just across the street from Bethlehem.
Yeah.
So not just we heard the sirens, we suddenly started to hear hundreds of people coming down from the village, shouting, Allahu Akbar, Itbach al Yahud, kill the Jews. Hundreds of people coming down, shooting in the air. My wife woke up in panic. All my kids woke up. We ran immediately to the shelter. Thank God the army was there, so they prevented them from getting into our houses. But it was like October 7th happening all over again.
I can only imagine the horror that must have been going through your wife's mind and you as a father looking at your children.
Just imagine little kids waking up in the middle of the night and hearing hundreds of people just like a couple of meters from their homes shooting and screaming, kill the Jews. So it's not just the Iranians shooting missiles at us. That was the smallest part that was actually scary in this story. It's the local Arabs, our neighbors, who basically were so happy about the Iranian attack, simply coming and trying to kill us.
You live near Bethlehem.
Right.
That is been a point of contention now because it has been basically shut off from all Jewish people. It has reversed. It used to be 80% Christian. Now it's 80% Muslim. What is it like living with neighbors that want to annihilate you? I mean, this is really where you are at. When you think about it, you're living next to, can it ever be resolved? Can anything ever change? And I think maybe for the audience, explain a little bit of what that's like in Judea, Samaria, because I think for Americans, they really don't have a concept of what that means to be living in that region?
First of all, we go to the same supermarket with our neighbors, our Arab neighbors. We're going to the same supermarket. We're going to the same shopping center. We are living together. So, right, they're living in their own villages, and we are living in our own villages. But at the end of the day, we are shopping in the same places. We are driving on the same roads, and we hope. I mean, Israel is a country that desires peace more than anything.
Right.
For 30 years, we did everything we can in order to achieve peace. Some of our leaders were even willing to give parts of our land to the Palestinians in the hope that will bring peace. And just to remind everybody, Israel is a very small country. We are about the size of New Jersey. That's it. And we were willing to make massive concessions, giving parts of our land to the Palestinians in the hope that will bring peace. In 2005, Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip completely, gave it all to the Palestinians.
Was that a mistake?
I think for sure the answer is yes, because we've seen what happened. I mean, 20 years, billions of dollars were invested in Gaza. They could have made it to the Singapore of the Middle East. But what actually happened? They didn't invest the money in resorts or in education or in getting a better health system. They invested all the money, your tax dollars, in terror, in missiles, in underground tunnels. This is what they did, and we are paying the price for trying to basically giving them, in fact, a state. What happened? So now we are hearing from the administration, from the current administration, that they want to not just have this experiment which failed in Gaza. They want to have another experiment now in Judea and Samaria, to take the heartland of the Jewish people and give it to the Palestinians in order to have another Palestinian state just a few kilometers from Tel Aviv, from Ben Gurion Airport, from Jerusalem. Does that make any sense? Does that experiment prove itself successful so that we will repeat it again in more places, areas of our country? Does that make sense to anybody?
The Biden administration has been very vocal prior to the attack, the onslaught of attacks, and the missiles and drones that have been sent from Iran to Israel, but been very vocal in undermining Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Israeli government in its operations, particularly with Rafah, and insisting that Israel mitigate its response to the October 7th attacks. How is that playing out in Israel? How are the Israeli people reacting, number one, to that from the Biden administration? And what do you think needs to be done from this point forward when it comes to the Palestinian population, I think, that you're dealing with right now?
So to be honest, I believe that a big part of the reason the Iranians attacked Israel in this way, it's because of that they're seeing what is happening to the relations between Israel and America. I mean, you have to remember, Iran for years and years never directly attack any of its rivals, only through proxies. I mean, they are the biggest supporters of Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen, and of course, Islamic Jihad and Hamas in Gaza and in Judea and Samaria. Never they attacked directly any other country. And now for the first time, they were brave enough to do that. And why? I believe that the reason for that is exactly what you just said, because they saw what is happening between the current administration and Israel. They said, I mean, it's okay to have disagreements. We don't have to agree about everything. But until today, it was because we are allies, it was agreed to have all the discussions and all the disagreements within the closed room. And suddenly the administration decided to make it all open, to show that they're undermining Netanyahu, but by doing that, they're undermining Israel. And the Iranians saw that, and they felt that Israel is weak, that we don't have anybody next, that we are isolated, and they took advantage of that reality.
Isn't it true in the region? I mean, I grew up in the Middle East, and it's much different than the United States and the Western world. I mean, if you're weak in the Middle East, that's when they all attack, right?
Exactly.
It becomes an existential threat if you're viewed as weak in the Middle East And right now, President Biden is telling basically the Israeli government, okay, they've already saved face. Go ahead now, back off. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to respond to this directly. That would be the wrong move, I would imagine. I mean, is Israel even going to listen to that?
100%, you're right. In the Middle East, being weak is an existential threat, no less than that. And again, you have to understand that what happened on October 7th, it's not just that Hamas came and massacred 1,200 Jews and kidnapped 240 people, babies, old people, women, everybody. That's not. I mean, that's, of course, it's huge. It's heartbreaking. But that's not the story. The story is that Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, basically succeeded to do something that all Arab armies tried to do for 76 years and failed. He proved that Israel is vulnerable. And when you're weak, as you said, in the Middle East, then everybody comes and they want to grab a bite. And that poses an existential threat to Israel. And for the administration to come and say that now, after October 7th, that they want to impose what they call the two-state solution, which is, of course,
that rewards them, doesn't it?
Exactly. It's telling them, just as rewarding, telling them, if you want to achieve your goals, use terror, you'll get exactly what you want. What is happening here? What is happening here?
Have you had any opportunity to speak with anybody in the executive branch while you've been here, or has it just been mainly meeting with counterparts in Congress and the Senate? But have you had a chance to speak to the Biden administration directly?
So on this visit, I met mostly members of Congress and of the Senate, of course, but I can tell that in my previous visit a couple of weeks ago, I met the Admiral John Kirby, the spokesman of,
I know who he is. Yeah,
the spokesman of the White House, I think. And he gave a long explanation about how, and I believe him that his heart is in the right place. I think he's a big supporter of Israel. Mm-hmm. And he gave a long explanation about how the two-state solution is the right thing, is the best thing for Israel, and etc.
And what did he have to back that? What kind of proof was he giving that it would be?
I don't even remember, to be honest. But I told him at the end that, with all due respect, you have to understand, we are in the Middle East, we're not as sophisticated as you are here in America. We don't come up with such a sophisticated explanation. If you're rewarding terror, you're sending a horrible message to the Middle East that if you'll use terror, you'll get what you want. It's as simple as that. And even if you think that in the far future, the two-state solution, that is the right thing to do, which again, I will disagree. But let's say that you are right. To say it now, after the massacre, the worst massacre the Jewish people has experienced since the Holocaust, now to tell them, go ahead and we will defend your Palestinian state, that's craziness.
Especially when you wake up in the middle of the night hearing people screaming, kill the Jews.
You're right.
Believing that for some reason, they had it in their mind that Iran would succeed in targeting the Jewish state.
Exactly.
Does that terrify you, though? Because I just want people that are listening to this to understand, Ohad, going to the grocery store with someone who you might have been friendly with, you may say hello to, they're your neighbor, but deep down inside, that neighbor wants you dead. I mean, that's pretty much what Israel faces every single day of its life, a nation that really is a sliver. Yeah. One nation representing, and Ambassador Friedman said that today, we are, there's only one nation state representing the Jewish people, and that's it. And you have 49 Arab states. Right. Right?
Right.
It's like, so, and I hope I'm right on those numbers, but
100%.
But it's got to be a very lonely feeling when your closest ally is not standing, backing you up all the way after an attack like you saw on October 7th.
You're right. It's a big disappointment. And, you spoke about the fact that you have to, at the end of the day, go grocery shopping with these people. And, there was a poll made by Dr. Khalil Shkaki, a Palestinian, not even an Israeli poll, among Palestinians a couple of weeks ago. You would not believe the results. 72% of the Palestinians today support Hamas. 84% of them justify the massacre of October 7th and sympathize and say that they will repeat it all over again. 84%. So you cannot say that, that's a group of extremists
or an anomaly.
Small minority. This is the vast majority of Palestinians. They believe that the Jews should be killed. Not just killed, they're supporting a rape of a woman and then shooting them in the head, burning alive little babies, beheading little kids, kidnapping old women. This is what they're supporting. So now you want to talk, you're going to tell us, let's give them a state as a reward again at the heartland of the Jewish people, in the places that are mentioned in the Bible, in Hebron, in Shiloh, in Bethlehem, in Jerusalem, to give them a state as a reward for what?
Are you concerned about the endless flood of illegal immigration at the southern border? How about the $1 trillion being added to the national debt every 100 days? Folks, it's no wonder thousands of hardworking, patriotic Americans, including myself, are learning how to protect and diversify their retirement savings with precious metals. That's why I've partnered up with top-rated company Goldco. Listen to their current offer. Get a free 2024 wealth protection kit and learn how to possibly get $10,000 in bonus silver as a listener of this show while supplies last. And I always tell you, we need to diversify. You must diversify to protect your family. So protect your family's financial future and freedom. Get started today at saralikesgold.com. That's SARA likesgold.com, or call 855-823-GOLD. Get your free gold kit from Goldco and learn how to get $10,000 in bonus silver. Sara, SARA likesgold.com, or 855-823-4653. That's SaraLikesGold.com, or call 855-823-GOLD. Extremism isn't just in the Middle East. I mean, it's spreading across the globe. We've seen anti-Semitism on the rise in Europe. We've seen that for, I would say, a decade now, slowly and progressively growing. We saw the extremist attacks with Charlie Hebdo, Bataclan, the Jewish deli in France, the Madrid train bombings. And I think we became a little bit complacent, even in the United States, thinking, well, September 11th, that was a long time ago. But 19 terrorists on those planes, directed at the Pentagon and the World Trade Center and the other plane that crashed, operated by Al-Qaeda, changed the trajectory of our nation for 20 plus years. Right? So
I must tell you something about it. I spoke with one of the soldiers who came back from Gaza a couple of days ago, and he came back with a Palestinian flag he found there, and it was written on it in Arabic. It was written, on Saturday, we will slaughter the Jews, but on Sunday, we will slaughter the Christians. We have to understand the ideology we are facing at these days. Radical Islam doesn't really care only about the Jews. They see us, and that of course represent Iran. They treat us only as the forefront of Western civilization. Their eyes are on you. I mean, they call us the little Satan, but they call America the big Satan. You have to understand, Iran doesn't only care about destroying Israel. They're not only burning Israeli flags, they're burning America's flag each and every day. They want to become a superpower, a global superpower, not just a regional superpower. So that's the threat. I mean, if one thing we've learned from October 7th is to believe what our enemies are saying. They're saying they want to destroy not just Israel, they want to destroy America. We are fighting your war, not less than we are fighting our own war. That's the reality.
That's what I tell everyone, when I say, look, I absolutely believe in backing our Israeli brothers and sisters in this fight. They are allies. They're our only real ally in the Middle East. I absolutely believe that. But they're the front line of the war. They're fighting the war on their homeland. That war came here on September 11th, but it's still here. There is radicalization happening every single day in this country, and we don't know who's come across our own border. How real of a threat do you think the United States is facing from the same enemies that have targeted Israel?
Just look at what is happening now in Europe. I mean, I know that America is one step ahead before back, but look at what is happening now in the capitals of Europe. What is happening in Paris? What is happening in London?
Right.
Arabs, Muslims coming to these places, immigrants from all over the world, mostly from Africa, coming there and telling them, "You are our slaves. We will slaughter you. We want to apply Sharia rules here in your countries. London will become a Muslim, England will become a Muslim country." This is what they're saying. So again, we have to believe our enemies. We have to believe what they're saying. We don't, again, on October 7th, we had all the information before. Our intelligence had.
That's what I was just going to talk to you about, because this is important. I want people to understand this. And then we're going to go back to really quickly, what's happening here in the United States, because we've had people standing in the middle of the streets here in the United States, in Michigan and Dearborn, saying death to America.
Death to America.
Death to America. And I think people are thinking like this is some kind of weird protest, that they don't really mean it, but they actually really mean it. They really would do it if they had the opportunity.
Right.
But go back to what you were just saying right now. I mean, as far as, in Europe and in the United States, and how I think we fail to understand, we fail to believe that our enemies really do mean that threat.
Exactly. I mean, that was the problem we suffered from also on October 7th or before that, because we had all the information. We knew all their plans of attacking Israel and penetrating the border and occupying all these villages in the south. But we told ourselves, no, they're not really mean it. They're just saying that. They're just bragging. They're not really going to do that. And we also told ourselves a story that, if we will improve their economy, if we will give them more money, if we will let them have more job opportunities.
And you were expanding that. You were giving more and more permissions to come over, everything.
The villages around Gaza, most of the people who are living there in those kibbutzim are very liberals, peace fighters. I mean, they are the people. I don't know if you've seen in Kfar Aza, all these kibbutzim, all the burned houses.
Right. Yes, I've been there. Yes.
Flags with Shalom Achshav. Shalom Achshav is peace now. They are the people who were advocating for peace the most. They were the people who took Palestinians from Gaza to Israeli hospitals to take care of them. They gave them jobs in their kibbutzim, in their villages. And they were slaughtered by the same people. Again, because we didn't want to believe that when they're saying that they want to kill us, they actually mean it. But that was the reality.
And that's what I want everyone who's listening to really understand here, because Ohad, you're right. I mean, Israel knew. People will say to me, Sara, you were in Israel. What did you see? And then the next question is, how did this happen? How did this happen? Because when people go to Israel, when they migrate to Israel, when they decide to make aliyah to Israel and make that their homeland, they're going there to feel safe.
Right.
They're like going to a Jewish state. I'm a Jewish person. I'm going to live in Israel. I'm going to be protected. We're never going to see what happened in the past happen again. Never again is now, right? And then this happened. I mean, as a part of the Israeli government, I mean, is it just break your heart to see what had happened and to realize like no one was paying attention to the warning signs?
Yeah, but I'm telling myself this is part of the problem we have in a Western civilization, because a normal person like you and me, and probably everybody who listens to us right now, what does he care in life? Or what does he want in life? He wants his kids to have a proper education, to have a decent job, and to have a good future, right? But we have to realize that our enemies they don't think in the same way. I've heard it from so many soldiers that they came back from Gaza and they realized what Golda Meir, our prime minister, said on the 70s. She said that the Arabs, they hate us more than they love their kids. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. A couple of months ago, I saw a video of a Palestinian from Gaza, a mother who came to Israeli hospital with her baby. and that baby had a brain cancer, and we treated her. And the guy from the television came and asked her all kind of questions, and at the end he asked her, "What do you wish for your baby to be when she'll grow up?" So the mother said, "You know what I wish? I wish for my baby to be a shaheed. Shaheed is basically a suicide bomber." But he said, what do you mean? The Israelis just saved your daughter. You want her to kill Jews? Is it what you wish for her? Of course, she says. What do you mean? To be a shaheed, that's the biggest thing we can wish for in Islam. We have to realize that they don't operate in the same way as we do. They don't think in the same way. They desire other things than we do.
That was interesting, that story, because I think it shows how extremism is bred from the time they're just babies, a child. And I had a friend in Israel send me a picture. Her sons were actually in Gaza, and they sent a picture that they took on a mantle, and it was of a baby laying down, little girl, and she had a grenade on one side, a
Right.
mortar above her head, a knife on the other side, and an automatic laying across her chest.
Right.
And that was the picture of the baby on the mantle. That's extremism. But I think you're right. I think America really doesn't grasp that. I mean, we don't realize that is where we are at, that we are on the edge of a precipice, because we have had, and you were the one that brought it up when we were in the car driving over here, saying, what's going on with your border being wide open?
Right.
Why would the government just do that? Aren't you concerned? I mean, as somebody from the outside, how do you see what's happening now in the United States?
I can, even though you explained it to me, I just don't get it, to be honest. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, every country has to protect itself. America is threatened. There's a lot of enemies who wants America to be destroyed. So you just open your borders to whoever wants to come. Millions of people coming throughout the years, coming to America. What do you think? I mean, don't you think that terror organizations using that, allowing drugs to just come up to your country without any limitation, does that make sense? I mean, really, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And it's the reason why we've been trying to expose it day in and day out, whether that's on Fox News and me with Sean Hannity or other reporters that have now taken on that beat. It's become like its own little war zone. I used to be the only person down at the border once in a while, and now there's like 20 or 30 different reporters covering it, because it's just been that crazy. I mean, it's wide open. We see people coming from all over the world. Do you think that we have failed in our understanding, though, of extremism? Because we have people coming from everywhere, from Syria, from Afghanistan, from Bangladesh, from Iraq, I could keep naming. I mean, I think that in one day there was like over 75 countries or something that had come through the border in just one day in one area where I was at. And all of those people, for the most part, have been released without any significant background checks. How real of a threat are we facing as a nation, as an ally of Israel? And does that change things? Because if something happens to us, we're going to need our allies to have our backs, right?
100%. And I think the Western civilization has to wake up. I mean, we are dreaming. We don't understand the threats. We want to believe that everybody is peaceful and everybody wants what we want. And that's not the reality. Again, October 7th proved to us that we have to wake up and we have to understand the threats. We have to understand the reality.
What would you do different now? Like, what would be different now? Is there something that you learned that people are talking about now, looking back, saying, okay, we can never do this again?
So I think a lot of Israelis also realize that all those dreams about having this beautiful ceremony of peace with our neighbors, the Palestinians, it's not going to happen. At least it's not going to happen not in this generation. You spoke about the pictures of babies with rifles and knives and all these things that came from Gaza. I mean, this is a whole generation that their education is about killing Jews. They learn mathematics. If you just open their textbooks, you'll see how do they learn mathematics. The question is, if I killed 5 Jews and you will kill 3 Jews, how many Jews did we kill altogether? This is how they learn math. This is how they learn poetry. This is how they learn everything in school. So they're from being babies, they'll learn to hate.
And with the UN and US dollars to support them.
Right, exactly. All this money goes to UNRWA, which is basically the civic arm of Hamas. I mean, it was also already proven that all this money that came from UNRWA went to the underground terror tunnels, and to these textbooks of teaching them to hate and to kill Jews. This is where all your dollars went to. So I think Israelis has woken up from that dream. They now realize the threat. They realize what we're up against. And this is why, for example, a couple of weeks ago, 99 members of the Knesset voted to reject the attempt of the administration to impose the two-state solution on Israel, the establishment of a Palestinian state. 99 members of the Knesset out of 120. This is unprecedented. I don't think ever in the history of the Knesset,
all of the
99 members of the Knesset supported one resolution. And that was the resolution that came out. So I think Israelis are becoming more aware. They understand the reality. And I hope that America will also join us with waking up and realizing what is happening.
2 more questions, and then I'm going to set you free. I promise. You're going to get out. You're going to get out of here and go have your dinner. I know, me too. Okay, as far as Rafah is concerned, Prime Minister Netanyahu, he said even during a meeting I attended with him that absolutely that their intention is to eliminate Hamas and to destroy all of its battalions. I think there's 4 battalions that are still in existence, and they want to get rid of all 4 of those battalions. That will still happen, in your opinion?
Definitely.
And Iran?
We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. Again, we will be very happy if our allies, especially if America, will stand with us. But even if it's not going to happen, we will do whatever is needed to be done in order to protect our citizens. I mean, we went to this war against Hamas in order to achieve 3 goals. One of them is to bring back the hostages. The second is to eradicate Hamas. And the third is to make sure that Gaza will no longer be able to oppose a threat to our citizens, that the massacre of October 7 will not be able to happen again. As long as we're keeping Hamas alive, that's basic, and we're not bringing back our hostages, it means that we haven't achieved the goals of this war. We will allow another massacre to happen in the future, and we cannot accept that. So even if America will not support that, even if we'll have to fight with our own fists, we will do whatever is needed in order to protect our citizens and to make sure that Hamas will no longer be able to kill us. The same thing for Iran. I mean, again, I've heard it now from Ambassador Friedman. He said, just imagine that in one of these protests here in America, you would see 20 people shooting 20 police officers. But thank God these police officers had a bulletproof vest. So they didn't hit them and nobody was dead. Mm-hmm. So now you would tell that all these 20 people that now ran away, okay, we will not even chase you? It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. Iran tried to destroy Israel. They launched a direct attack of unprecedented, over 300 missiles towards Israel. So thank God we invested so much money in defense, in building our defense.
You have a very, very strong air defense system, as well as the Iron Dome.
Thank God, with the grace of God, it protected us. But that means that now we will just ignore their attempt to destroy Israel? Of course not. They have to pay a price. They have to pay a price. Otherwise, it will happen time and time again. We cannot afford that to happen.
What is the lesson that the United States could learn from Israel based on what's happened over the past year and what you've suffered?
I think, as I said before, I think the lesson should be wake up. Just wake up. Face reality. I mean, I know people don't like to hear the truth sometimes. You know, we want to keep staying in our imagination that everything is fine, or everything is okay, and everybody is good. Well, What can we do? The world is more complicated than that. Not everybody is good. Not everybody wants the same thing as we do. Not everybody just take care of their kids. Some people, yes, they're bad people and they want to destroy what you and I cherish, our freedom. They don't like this freedom. Their ideology is against the freedom that America represents. And they wanted to take it away. So we have to wake up. We have to fight for our values. We have to protect it. It will not stay forever if we will not protect it. So we have to realize we have enemies. They want to destroy us. They want to destroy our values, and we have to fight back.
Absolutely. And we have to stick by our friends and our allies that are fighting for the same principles and values that we are, or otherwise we are going to be left alone. And divided, they can conquer us. But
Right.
together, I think we're so much stronger. Thank you so much, Ohad Tal, for
My
being
pleasure.
a part of the show and for coming to
course.
America and for being such an important ally in our fight against extremism and terror. You are a real hero.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much again, Ohad Tal. I invite you to come back on the show anytime. Please make sure, folks, you're subscribed to the Sara Carter Show on your favorite podcast app. It helps us keep the show free and really gives us a boost in our algorithm. If you're watching on Rumble or YouTube, give us a like and a follow as well. Thank you so much. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on X at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. God bless you. God bless our nation. God bless Israel. And God bless the great state of Texas.